did it. You guys missed it in the studio. I had a countdown with Meg's hands and this cool little like flip thing with the finger. It was good.
It was more like, back to you.
Back to you, Matt, from your town. I think that'd be my radio voice. Is it pretty good?
Yeah.
Oh, she doesn't like the radio voice. Either way, shout out Deluxe Edition Network. There's probably some radio voices in there. You should go check it out. DeluxeEditionNetwork.com. Podcast of the month. Bacon is my pod. And the Beard Laws podcast. Go check them out. DeluxeEditionNetwork.com. And while you're checking out some stuff on the interwebs, check out yourtown.com. We put a lot of work into that website. And by we, it's me. And I put the pins on each location, and it's a really cool thing. So I love it, and you can listen to the episodes right from the website, and we greatly appreciate and throwing out appreciations. I appreciate you, Meg. How is things?
Ditto.
Things good?
Yeah.
Can't
complain.
Got another good episode. I'm excited for. It's continually mixing up. This one's an interesting one. It's a little bit of a cold case, and wanted to, like I said, kind of mix some things up. So hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's not too bad. What do you think?
Good.
You think it'll be all right? Good. All right.
Sorry, I'm thinking hard about freeze-dried food.
I'll tell you what, when we get millions, when we hit our millionth download, we'll do a special edition freeze-dried treat for all the Yorktownians. Because we found out, I know this probably isn't the platform for it, but we found out that a freeze-dried machine's like $3,000. Wasn't expecting that much money.
No. Makes some good candy, though.
It does make some pretty good candy.
Makes some good pre-existing candy, I should say.
Yes. Pretty good one.
Candy.
Yes.
Anyways.
I was thinking about adjusting on the fly. You want to go with the one that we picked out? Let's go with the one we picked out.
Yeah.
There was another one that I recently wrote that I was really intrigued with, that was fresh in my brain. I was going to go with that one, but we'll go with this one.
No, let's do it. Switch it up.
No, we're going for it.
I didn't peek, so.
It's okay. Let's mix it up.
Okay.
We're going to mix it up.
Changing?
We're changing. We're going with, for anybody that doesn't know, we're going to do a little bit of a cold case. And what triggered me is it's a cold case haunting a community, and I feel like I didn't do enough research. I was looking. I don't think I finished this one. I didn't do the quote. I didn't do the sources. So we're mixing it up. We're going to go with a creepy town in a new state. So on the Yorktown map, you're going to be able to go and see a different state. The state is Connecticut. It's Dudleytown, Connecticut. And this one's pretty interesting. This has been a town that has been talked about a lot. Paranormal stuff has happened. A lot of kind of ghost teams have gone in for a while, but maybe you're not allowed to anymore. But either way, I feel like we should maybe try the introduction. That maybe is going to work. Maybe it's not, but we're going to talk about the Dudleytown creepiness. It's a wild story. And
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
The Dudleytown creepiness.
The Dudleytown creepiness. That's going to be the name of the episode. Maybe. But either way, this is going to be one that you're definitely going to love and have questions about, not only the audience, but Meg.
I hope so.
Oh, I know so.
Okay.
It's going to be good. All right, so we're going to do the introduction, and then we'll be right back. Hopefully it works. Should we do it now?
No.
Okay. %70 sure that worked. But either way, post-editing, it'll be there. Let's jump into this. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So Dudleytown, nestled within the dense forest of the northwestern Connecticut, has a history shrouded in mystery and tragedy. Once a thriving community, it's now abandoned, leaving behind a ghostly reminder of its past. To help us unravel the enigma of Dudleytown, we're going to explore its wild history. And wild it is. It's going to be filled with tales of curses, disappearance, and unexplained phenomena. One of my favorite words to say.
Phenomena.
Dun, 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 dun.
Phenomena.
Dun, 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 dun. Nailed it. That should be our new intro. We're going to talk about phenomena. But first, after song and dance, let's jump back in time to its origins of its haunted village. Dudleytown was settled in the early 18th century by the Dudley family. Shocker, huh? Descendants of William Dudley, one of the founders of Guilford, Connecticut. Initially, the village flourished, but soon tragedy struck with an alarming frequency. What's pretty wild, though, and kind of a little bit maybe ironic's the right word, Dudleytown never actually was an official town. It never evolved into a formal township. Its name emerged at an unspecified time. They're not really sure when it did, but it's a section of Cornwall, and it encompassed multiple Dudley family members. Settlement in the area commenced during the early 1740s, initiated by Thomas Griffiths, followed by Gideon Dudley. I like that name.
Gideon.
Gideon was giddy. Dudley? And subsequently expanded by Barzilla Dudley and Abiel Dudley by 1753, with Martin Dudley joining them shortly thereafter. Concurrently, other families also established roots in the vicinity. The population of Dudleytown was never large, and according to an 1854 map, the peak number of families who lived here reached 26. Sounds like Hammond.
That's some small town.
That's some small town.
Small town.
Even when the community grew, there were never any new stores. There was no shops, no schools, no churches. There wasn't even a cemetery in Dudleytown. So if you needed something or something happened and you had to bury a loved one, you had to do it in Cornwall. Like much of Cornwall, Connecticut, Dudleytown underwent a transformation from dense forest to just somewhat okay land. Families diligently cultivated the soil across generations, perched atop the lofty hill, contrary to some sources that actually said it was in a valley. Dudleytown proved less than ideal for agricultural, and by the mid-19th century, the allure of the more fertile and the expansive lands in the Midwest, coupled with the waning local iron industry, contributed to a gradual decline in its already small Cornwall population. But in spite of all these things, the town did thrive for a little bit. Dudleytown was noted for its timber, which was burned and used to make wood coal for the nearby Litchfield County iron furnaces in Cornwall and other towns. The furnaces later moved closer to the railroads, as a lot of things did, and many episodes that we've talked about. In more industrial towns and the lumber was no longer needed. Iron ore was used from the area for a time, and there were even 3 water-powered mills in Dudleytown. Most of the mills eventually closed because of the long trip down the mountain to actually have to deliver the goods.
Have we talked about Litchfield counties?
It did.
And something else?
Did you like that little tie-in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Remember there was part of it, I think, with the Litchfield. Was it the robbers? I can't remember exactly. There was definitely a callback. So. Yep.
Okay.
Nice pickup. I wonder if the listeners. But either way, since though Dudleytown kind of started, there's been this little bit of kind of mystery. And then there was a series of peculiar deaths and strange events. Despite attempts by some historians to diminish the significance of these occurrences in recent times, the unsettling tales persist. They seek to discredit the town's legends by highlighting its sparse population and minimizing reports of disappearances, mental instability, and unusual fatalities, as if such occurrences were kind of in a commonplace. Yet, the question lingered. Why did so many peculiar incidents unfold in this isolated place with so few people? While the sheer number of deaths might not be remarkable in a larger community, but within Dudleytown's small confines of maybe like 26 families, people can't help but ponder the nature of these events. Moreover, there appear to be numerous undocumented cases of insanity and disappearances, further fueling speculation. And it's also a little bit of a wonder that, whether founded or not, rumors of Dudleytown, it was cursed. And that curse and that talk has endured through generations and generations. Oh, you got questions?
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was a question.
I was thinking.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's good. Interrupt anytime. Do your little sprinkles. Three of the Dudleys moved out of the region and lived long and full lives, dying of natural causes, forever diminishing any possibilities of a curse. Only Abiel, is that how you would say it? Abiel Dudley remained in town, and after a series of events, lost his entire fortune and, unfortunately, his mind. He died in 1799 at the age of 90, and when he was no longer able to pay his debts, the town actually took his property, sold it, and then made him a ward of the town. Toward the end, he was senile, insane, and would not be the last to suffer from this curse.
Dun, dun, dun.
There it is. Let's go to 1792. 7 years before Abiel Dudley passed away, his good friend and neighbor, Gershon Hollister, was killed while building a barn at the home of William Tanner, his closest neighbor. Tanner was also said to have gone insane. although likely from old age and just kind of becoming senile rather than from maybe a supernatural influence. He lived to be 104, and according to the records, was slightly demented at the time of his death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine you've seen a lot when you're 104, though, especially back then.
Well, guess what else he saw? There have been stories circulating that have kind of claimed that Tanner had told other villagers of these strange creatures that would come out of the woods at night. And if this is true, there is no way for us to know if these creatures were products of the unexplained or maybe just kind of Tanner's feeble mind kind of going nuts. But Nathaniel Carter family moved to Dudleytown in 1759 and lived in a house once owned by Abiel Dudley before he was made ward of the town. A mysterious plague swept through the Dudleytown and Cornwall and took the lives of the entire family, relatives of Nathaniel. I was going to say the name. It's not a one I want to pronounce. It's a tough one. Abandonment Carter's family, relatives of Nathaniel, saddened by the loss. They actually
That's
moved.
not even close to what you have.
It's pretty close. They moved to Binghamton.
Adoniram.
Yeah. Whoa, Black
No
Betty.
B in.
A damn a ram, oh, Black Betty, a damn a ram. So they moved to Binghamton, New York from Dudleytown in 1763. Just couldn't take the loss of the family in there. But those who believe in the curse say that the taint of Dudleytown followed them to their new Binghamton, but their tragic fate was actually far too common during those early days in the frontier. The Carters moved to Delaware wilderness in the heart of the Indian Territory, and during an attack, Indians actually slaughtered Nathaniel, his wife, and their infant child.
Oof.
The Carters' other 3 children were actually abducted, taken to Canada, where 2 daughters were ransomed. The son, David Carter, remained with his captors, marries an Indian girl, and later returns to the United States for his education. He then goes on to edit a newspaper and actually becomes a justice on the Supreme Court. That's not good luck.
No.
Sad. New start. Your entire family is murdered. Unreal.
Right?
So there's another bizarre tragedy that was affected one of the most famous residents of the region, General Herman Swift, who had served in the Revolutionary War under George Washington. In 1804, his wife, Sarah Fay, was struck by lightning while standing on the front porch of their home near Dudleytown. She was killed instantly. The general then goes insane and soon dies after. Many have dismissed the incident as not being connected to the other unusual events, saying that Swift did not actually live in Dudleytown, but on Bald Mountain Road, where the house actually remains today, and that he only went insane when he became old and senile. But in an era that's sparsely populated, the records indicated 3 people to have gone insane in the space of less than a half century. Could it be a coincidence, Meg? And does a person being struck by lightning while standing on their front porch actually qualify as unusual?
I don't know. But it seems like they're living pretty old.
They're living pretty old, but
and becoming senile.
A lot of weird, yeah. I'm not old or senile yet, but
recurring story.
Right? But that's it, right? Nothing else can happen in this little town, right? Wrong. It's often rumored that Horace Greeley, the renowned editor and founder of the New York Tribune, had ties to Dudleytown, adding to the lore of its supposed curse. However, this tale warrants clarification. His connection is said to stem from his marriage to Mary Young Cheney, whom the legends claim was born in Dudleytown. In truth, Mary hailed from nearby Litchfield and never resided in Dudleytown itself. Departing the area as early as 1833, she immersed herself in the burgeoning wellness movement at a vegetarian boarding house owned by Dr. Graham, who actually invented graham crackers. Cool, huh? It was there that she actually crossed paths with Greeley, whom she later wed. In 1872, Greeley famously ran for president, only to suffer defeat against Ulysses S. Grant. Tragically, shortly before the election, Mary succumbed to a bout of lung disease in New York City, with Greeley and their 2 daughters, Ida and Gabrielle, by her side. Contrary to the legends, Mary's passing was not a result of a suicide. Greeley himself passed away just a month later, and the electoral votes he occurred in the election were allocated to minor candidates. Following the Civil War, Dudleytown's decline became apparent as many villagers chose just to leave. The demise of the town was not surprising, regardless of one's beliefs in the curse. Its geographical location proved to be precarious at best. Surrounded by hills and situated at elevations exceeding 1,500 feet, the prospects for successful crop cultivation and sustaining life in the village were very, very slim. Harsh winters took their toll, even on the hardiest apple trees, stunting their growth from prolonged exposure to cold weather. Additionally, the rocky soil and excessive water pose significant challenges, resulting in stagnant swamps and damp conditions. Even when discounting the notion of a literal curse and acknowledging the unfavorable location's role in the town's downfall, the prevalence of unusual deaths and mental afflictions within such an isolated community suggests something out of the ordinary was at play. Despite efforts by skeptics to dismiss the mysterious events in Dudleytown, their explanations fall short. Guess what? 1901. Dudleytown's population dwindling to almost nothing, tragedy struck one of the last residents, John Patrick Brophy. Following his wife's death from consumption, he faced further devastation when his 2 children disappeared into the forest shortly after the funeral. While their vanishing could be attributed to voluntary departure, accusations of stealing slave blankets started to kind of fill the town. The children vanished without a trace, a mystery compounded when Brophy's house inexplicably burns down soon after. But then guess what? Brophy himself, disappears into the forest and was never seen again.
Interesting.
Very. And then, by the early 1900s, Dudleytown lays abandoned. Its remaining structures succumbed to decay and neglect, gradually succumbing to the encroaching forest reclaiming the village. Despite doubts about the existence of a curse, one additional death linked to Dudleytown reinforces the region's reputation for tragedy and mystery. It was around 1900 Dr. William Clark discovered the serene beauty of Cornwall, Connecticut, and was immediately captivated by its lush forests and tranquil countryside. Born in 1877 and raised on a farm in Tenafly, New Jersey, Dr. Clark eventually established himself as a prominent professor of surgery, teaching at Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons while earning renown as a leader cancer specialist in New York. Dr. Clark's admiration for the area led him to acquire 1,000 acres of land encompassing Dudleytown, where he worked on constructing a summer retreat. Over several years, he and his wife, Harriet Bank Clark, frequented the home during summers, weekends, until it was completed. Subsequently, it served as a cherished holiday haven for brief summer getaways, Thanksgiving celebrations, and it was just nice for them to kind of escape and just hang out in Dudleytown until 1918. However, then tragedy strikes one summer weekend when Dr. Clark was suddenly summoned to New York for an urgent matter, leaves his wife behind. Upon his return 36 hours later, he was met with a harrowing discovery. His wife allegedly succumbed to insanity, mirroring the fate of previous Dudleytown residents. According to rumors, she recounted encountering bizarre creatures emerging from the forest, which obviously the report is that she was assaulted by them and then she took her own life. While the validity of these claims is not 100% certain, there was a lot of stories and some documentations that I saw in the research, but it's worth noting that Mrs. Clark had battled a prolonged chronic illness leading up to the tragic event. Hint at a little bit of an underlying struggle. A lot of ties to these forests, right?
Right.
Despite the devastating loss, Dr. Clark persevered in maintaining their Dudleytown residence and continued to visit the area. In due course, he remarried and continued to cherish the property until the completion of a larger home nearby in 1930. In 1924, he and his new wife, Carita, alongside fellow doctors, friends, and concerned landowners, they established the Dark Entry Forest Association, aimed at preserving the surrounding land in its natural state. Their inaugural gathering in 1926 attracted 41 members, solidifying their commitment to maintaining the area's pristine wilderness. Tragically, Dr. Clark passes away in Cornwall Bridge in February 1943, followed by Carita 5 years later. However, their legacy endures through their descendants, many of whom still reside in the region, preserving the memory of the family's ties to Dudleytown and their enduring efforts to safeguard its natural splendor. In the 70s, there was some pretty well-known paranormal investigators. Ed and Lorraine Warren declared it demonically possessed and actually referenced this place, Dudleytown, in many interviews, documentaries, and everything after they did spend some time there. Right now, present times, Dudleytown remains abandoned, and the occasional influx of thrill seekers and tourists are drawn to this area, but the Dark Forest Entry Association still owns this area and a lot of the land in not only this area, but surrounding areas, and a cluster of residents nestled along Bald Mountain Road, secluded from main houses and everything else. It's just, I would imagine, a beautiful, just mountainside area. Maybe we'll get into it, what it might remind you of here in a second. But, well, I don't know. I guess it seems improbable that Dudleytown was ever actually cursed, I would have to say, right, Meg? But there's a lot of disappearances, peculiar deaths, suicides, instances of madness, in just like a very confined area.
Well, and I think how they said the one guy had seen the creatures coming out of the forest and they blamed it on being senile.
Mhm.
I feel like you can have that happen more than once.
Yeah.
Like two people being senile and seeing the same thing.
And then kids seeing something and going in the woods, then a husband. Seems like a lot of things are going with these woods. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of documentations. And if you do some research on this town, there's a lot more stories of, stuff in the woods, this and this, even kind of somewhat newer, ghost hunters and stuff. They've spent some time in there, documented some stuff, heard some stuff, seen some stuff. So it's an interesting place. In those people that we mentioned, the Warrens, they're world renowned paranormal investigators. So they have a lot of credit, and not to get all paranormal nerdy, but they were saying that there's a potential, like parallel to like vortexes and some really crazy dark stuff there. And people have been doing rituals there for decades and centuries. I mean, you can see bones and, markings and stuff like that. So, but again, the Dark Forest Entry Association still owns it. And if you are trying to go to Dudleytown now, you cannot. There's a gate. It's locked at all times. Probably cameras. You try to go in there and they will press charges on you. And especially things kind of really, really ramped up in 99 when they made it so that people that were hikers couldn't even access the land. It was a beautiful place to hike, apparently. And mostly because when 99 is when the Blair Witch Project came out. Creepy woods. This is creepy woods. And it just led a lot of people to this area. But despite this, ban and potential arrest, many people still venture there and try to, find some kind of evidence or whatever. But regrettably, at the end of the day, the ruins of Dudleytown, they've suffered vandalism. The constant influx of trespassers had a detrimental impact on the local ecosystem. Equally unfortunate is the allure of Dudleytown's forbidden nature, drawing numerous curiosity seekers to the area. Again, don't try to go there or you will, be arrested. Hopefully, maybe one day this area would be, open back up to the public if people would stop going in there and just ruining it, destroying it. It's wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So
it is wild.
That's all we have for today. You want to do the quote?
Ghost towns filled with sad people who settled for what life offered them. The road unfurls before us. Everything is possible. I feel sick to my stomach. Pete Wentz.
Yeah, I found that one. Shout out to American Haunting Sync or American Hauntings Inc.com. Probably more ink than sync, but hey, we all love a good sync. And onlyinyourstate.com, and of course, Wikipedia. So again, something a little bit different. We're throwing some paranormal stuff. We're throwing some legends, something from a little bit of each state, and some true crime stuff. We have some really interesting true crime cases from smaller towns in different states that they're going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So can't thank you guys enough. Not only you for listening, but thank you, Meg, for hanging out. What'd you think of that?
That was cool.
Yeah, you liked it? I thought you'd enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild Dudleytown. So if we're ever up in the Connecticut area, we're going to roll through, take a picture of Dudleytown. I did promise you guys a bunch of pictures of the mountains and stuff from last week's episode, Sable Forks Murder. Go check that out. Turns out we actually have them on an actual camera, and we haven't hooked up the camera to a computer to rip the photos off of it yet. But If we do, we'll continue to do it, and maybe we'll post some stuff on the post that we did specifically for Us Able Folks. So check it out on yoretown.com, YORE town.com. And people, I've had some messages like, you spelled Yore wrong. How is it your town? It's like, well, Yore, of Yore. That's how you spell it. Yore. It's a fun play on words. That's why we didn't. I know how to spell sometimes. Thank you, spell check. I just can't say names. But either way, we can't thank you enough. And hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. And we'll be back next week. Anything else, Meg?
I think you can spell them. You just have trouble saying them.
It's a thing. I'm sorry,
It's
everybody.
entertaining.
Thank you. I'm glad to
I
be.
enjoy it each time.
Glad to be entertaining. So that's all we got. Anything else?
No.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week. Okay, bye.